Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is what to look for when hiring a property management company. If you're ready to hand over the keys to your investment, you better make sure the folks on the other side aren't going to turn your property into a circus. The right property management company is worth its weight in gold, while the wrong one can cost you way more than lost rent. Here are 5 ways to choose a property management company that will keep your rental business running like a well-oiled, cash-flowing machine. Number 1, and most important, check their communication game. You want a management company that actually answers the phone and responds to emails fast. If they're MIA before you even sign, imagine how they will handle tenant emergencies. Number 2, dig into their experience. Don't just take their word for it. Ask for references, check reviews, and make sure they've managed properties like yours. Bonus points if they have years in the game and a solid reputation. Number 3, understand their services. Do they just collect rent, or do they handle tenant screening, maintenance, evictions, and legal compliances? The more they cover and do well, the less you have to stress about it. Number 4, get clear on fees. No one likes surprise charges. Make sure you know exactly what you'll pay for monthly management, leasing, maintenance, and anything extra. If their fee sheet looks like a CVS receipt, you better run. And number 5, ask about their vendor network. A great property manager has reliable contractors on speed dial. This means faster repairs, happier tenants, and fewer headaches for you. So RAIN Nation, remember, hiring a property management company isn't just about finding someone to collect rent. It's about partnering with professionals who protect your investment, handle the chaos, and keep your cash flow strong. Do your homework, trust your gut, and set your standards high. Your future self and your portfolio will thank you. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. Today's guest is my friend Beata Lorinc, a seasoned short-term rental owner and operator with over a decade of experience. In 2025, her boutique portfolio of 8 properties brought in over $1.2 million in gross rental income, thanks to smart decisions, simple systems, and calm leadership. This year, she's at 10 properties and already on track to exceed $1.5 million. With a background in supply chain and customer experience at Procter Gamble, Beata helps investors see that stress and overwhelm usually means indecision, not failure. She's also the co-host of the Host Connect conference and creator of STR House Call, where she helps owners boost clarity and profitability. It's my pleasure to have her on the show, so welcome, Beata. As I hit my microphone, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pretty friend in lovely pink over there. I am so thrilled to have you on the show. And let's dive in. How did you go from Procter & Gamble? I don't know the story. How did you go from Procter & Gamble into real estate?
Well, that is a funny story. So currently I'm on my 17th year of maternity leave from Procter & Gamble.
You look great.
Thank you. So I, like many of us coming out of school, got the good degree, got the good job, climbed the corporate ladder. I was very happy climbing the corporate ladder. And then I had the first baby and it went a little, I don't know about this ladder thing. And then the second baby, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And then I just didn't.
Wow.
So it was a big pivot. And I never in a bazillion years when if you asked me in my early 20s would you ever be a stay-at-home mom, in fact, I'm a little ashamed to say I scoffed at the stay-at-home moms. So it was a bit of an identity crisis for me. There's a lot going on in that time. So there were a couple of years where I truly just did the mom thing, and I was grateful for those years, but I'll be very honest, I struggled, like I
Where
said,
where were
with
you?
my identity. We were living in Baltimore at the time.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So we were in Baltimore. And then I, like many stay-at-home moms who had previous jobs, I did a bunch of MLMs because I needed to do some things and I thought that was the right way to go. But regardless of what your opinions are on them, I did learn quite a bit. I don't regret any of them. They all led me to where I ended up getting. And in between, my parents are immigrants, and my father is an incredibly skilled carpenter and just overall house genius. And at the time when they first came to the country, legally, I might add, it's a thing now. So I got to put it out there now.
Sad we have to say that. Okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
keep going.
but it was true. It was true. And they were fed the line and believed that they had to get factory jobs to have insurance, right? That's kind of the American dream. And they came here to give a better life to my sisters and I. And so I'm at home watching my dad basically build houses literally on weekends while I'm sitting at home with a business degree, happy to raise my kids, but frankly, bored out of my mind mentally. Like I didn't have the kind of mental stimulation I truly needed. And so I convinced my parents to quit both of their jobs, and to move to Baltimore, and I would run a business for them. And I had never run my own business before. And so there was a lot of tears and a lot of fear, not on my part, my mother's mostly. And I'm like, there's no downside to this. I truly went in believing like there's no downside. Look, I mean, minimum wage factory jobs, there's not a lot of downside. And fast forward, and it was incredibly successful, and I learned a lot. And that's where I really got my bug for design. And so when we moved to North Carolina in 2015, I got a bug in my rear that said I shouldn't say I wanted to get an oceanfront house, and my husband was not on board at all. And after a lot of marital strife, he finally said to me, thinking that I would go away, is that, oh, sure, honey, if you can figure out how it can make us money, yeah, we'll buy a beach house. And I was like, oh, that's easy. Okay, let's do it. So that's basically how the STR business just came to be, is a lot of fortuitous places and circumstances and just saying yes when it felt right. And it just has organically grown from there, obviously.
Oh my goodness, I love a beach property. We just bought our first beachfront property, and ooh, I enjoy the money that it brings in. I will tell you that. What beach did you start this beach house?
Surf City on Topsail Island.
Oh, okay, very good, nice.
Yeah.
So I met you through a mutual friend, and man, did I hit the jackpot meeting you, because you are local, which is so rare to find badass women, and our paths never even connected at any point. Well, actually, there was an event where I actually spoke, and you said, I think I saw you speak at an event one time, but
Yeah.
you are putting on this conference, which, by the way, listeners, this is going to be so good, this conference, and it's local. It's in Cary, North Carolina. So I'm just so thrilled, because I coach students all day long through a Rental Property Pro, which is a coaching program, and I love doing that. But in-person meetups are so different. It really takes your education to the next level, and I cannot just support this event more. I'm just so excited. So we are going to talk more about it at the end of this conversation, though. But Beata, I am going to be the MC at this event. So you all know it's going to be fun. You got to be there. And we are going to be offering a discount at the end of this conversation. So make sure you listen. So let's dive in. So many short-term rental owners end up feeling trapped in their business, as you said. So one of the things that you said was, they think, oh, guest drama is just part of business, which, I felt that in my gut. So why does that belief keep people stuck longer than they need to be?
Well, I think it all, like so many things in life, right? It's kind of a full circle. You have the belief, you have that experience, and then you're like, see, this is what it is, and you keep perpetuating it. I think, let me just try to find the right way to phrase it. I think it's amazing that platforms like Airbnb have made this industry so accessible, but I think it's also the downfall of why so many people struggle in this industry. Um, I use the analogy of, would you ever open a brick and mortar bakery without doing actual site studies and business analysis to see if that particular block or that particular area needs another bakery? And yet, when it comes to the STR industry, whether you already owned a home or you went and purchased a home, most people actually go about it of, as long as I can afford the furniture and the down payment, I could be in this industry. And then after the fact, they're figuring out all these things. But this really is a business, whether you own or operate one property, 10 properties, or 100 properties. You're going to make your life so much better, happier, and easier if you create a true business plan for your business
Mm.
up front and have actual operating principles up front. Because where I see the vast majority of people struggling is that every single guest question and inquiry becomes this existential crisis of how they want to operate. Whereas if they made the decisions up front, it's a very easy yes or no. This works or this doesn't work. And it becomes very unemotional. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. And that's why I think it becomes so emotionally exhausting for so many people and they experience burnout so easily.
Whew, you said so much there. So we were chatting briefly before we hit record about all these Facebook groups that we read the nightmare situations these people go through. And you and I both were saying, we don't have experiences like that 96% of the time. Of course, you have one person that comes through that is like over the top, but it is just so rare if you set up the proper procedures and
Mhm.
systems in advance. So what are some of those for you? I know for me, I just started this year, which I can't believe I waited this long, doing automated messages, and everything's in there. What I would normally reach out and type to them with my thumbs in the app, when someone came through. And that's really, it helps your algorithm. It helps to show that you respond within an hour, which is one of those things that looks really good. And I'm just talking about Airbnb, by the way. That's the only platform I'm on. But what are some systems that you use that really nips it in the bud so it is just a yes or no and they're ready for it and there's no drama behind it?
Well, to rewind slightly, I think it's early on when I first started, and I think partly it was because I don't actually enjoy the guest interaction. Like I love providing an amazing experience. I take pride in that. But the whole back and forth, like in my mind, the perfect guest stay is the one that books, pays, comes, leaves, and then leaves me a 5-star review, and I've
Yep.
had no one-on-one conversation with them. To me, that's the perfect stay. That means I communicated everything they needed in a timely fashion, and everything was as they expected, which is what it should be. So early on, every time somebody asked any kind of question, I answer the question, but then literally I sat down and thought, how can I either avoid them ever asking this question again or avoid the situation ever coming up again? And I think because I had that mindset from day one, I didn't want to ask. So I started back in the Stone Ages on the beach where most people were not offering sheets or toilet paper,
Right.
right? So I was the pioneer who started 3-night minimums at an oceanfront house in Surf City and offered toilet paper, sheets, and towels. Like
Because
that was unheard of.
because they do week long reservations at the beach.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
Saturday. And in fact, so everybody else at the time did Saturday to Saturday. I
Yes.
actually would not allow Saturday or Saturday check-ins. So if they
Interesting.
wanted a week, they could pick any of the other 6 days of the week to do it, or they could do short stays. And my goal was everybody else was doing Saturday to Saturday. I didn't need to be part of everybody else. Like my entire business model is how can I offer something that not everyone else is offering? So that's one. But in terms of like the systems, I think one, a lot of automation. I have I organize my listing first in the storytelling, then the answer, everybody want if you get past well, first the pictures, right? But then the
Yes.
storytelling. If they get past that, now they want information. Does this work for me? So the very clear of what do you offer, what do you not offer, what's the bedroom and bathroom layout, because that's part of the logistics. Immediately after that, I have an automated rental agreement. So I
Hmm.
offer bookings on Verbo, Airbnb, and direct booking site. I don't care what platform you're on, you're signing an external rental agreement with me. There's a lot of reasons for that. We can go into that later if you want or not. But what that sets is the pace. This is a non-negotiable stay. Here are my rules, and now we're into a formal contractual agreement about my rules. And if that's not something you want, and one of my big ones is the occupancy, because I know that you're probably aware that there's a lot of hey, your house sleeps 10 to 12. Oh, but I'm just going to invite my 25 closest friends just for a barbecue. Right. And there's people are trying to host weddings. They're trying like crazy things are happening. And people truly believe that if they rent your house for the night, that they can do whatever they want on your property. It seems to be this like pervasive myth out there. So I lead in right up front with the things that are important to me. And I will say 8% of my bookings cancel within the first 24 hours after booking.
Interesting.
And as far as I'm concerned, that is the best thing that happens
Peace
because
out. Yep.
they were not going to be my people. So they see that rent, like, so it has an automated message that says, thank you, here's our occupancy. Every property has two or three very, specific rules. Every one of them for me personally has the occupancy thing. And I literally include something that says that includes daytime, nighttime, overnight, vendor. I've covered every base at this point because people now, I'm not having a party, I'm just having a gathering. I'm not having a party, I'm just having a family reunion. Like, so somehow party has become
Right.
this thing you're not allowed, but 50 of your closest friends gathering for a barbecue apparently is not a party in some people's eyes. So, that's kind of the first step. And then I offer a digital guest guide, which kind of really dives deep into every question someone can ask. And again, every once in a while, somebody just asks a bizarre question where I'm like, I've been doing this 10 years. No one's ever asked this before. That's a one-off. But most of the time, if it's something like, oh, somebody keeps asking how you work this fireplace, well, obviously that needs to go in the digital guest guide because maybe it's not intuitive or maybe it's a little trickier. So it's
Coffee
mostly things
maker
like
for
that.
me. How about
Yes, a
coffee
hundred
maker?
percent. What kind of coffee maker do you have, Jen?
I I do the craftless one because that's one less thing to break, but people cannot, like the one I got this past week and she said, your coffee maker's broken. I'm like, no, it's user error. You just lift it up and see where it says pour water in here. But now I am getting more and more of those questions. I need to start including it. I don't have a digital guidebook though, so I do need to get into that. But anyway, I cut you off. Keep going.
No, but it's just more preemptively. So
Right.
I'll touch on this later. I have a feeling it'll come up, but a big thing in our industry right now is hospitality. Everybody wants to be hospitable. We're in the, I can't tell you, I can't go 5 minutes without someone hearing this. We're in the hospitality industry. And you're right, we are. There's no question about it. But I think the definition of most folks for hospitality in this industry, in my opinion, is a little broken. What I believe hospitality actually is providing a predictable experience and providing exactly what you promised. No more, no
Yes.
less. And when you deliver on that, it becomes very easy and there's no friction and you still get those 5-star reviews. I think there's, we could expound as much as you want on that or not, but I think really it comes to nobody likes surprises on vacation. So,
Right.
whatever you need to do to avoid surprises, when you do that well, that's when you have a low stress, low contact, profitable business.
So, I mean, this whole question started around that an investor who is getting into this business, they really feel stuck because they aren't putting these systems in place. Can you share from your own journey, like where you felt stuck, maybe beyond this or anything of the sort, or because you felt stuck, these are why you put those procedures in place?
Well, one of the first things, I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but in 2018, well, you would be aware of it, but that it impacted me. We had Hurricane Florence
Yes.
that had a direct hit on Topsail Island. My 2-minute backstory to that, just I can laugh about it now. I did not laugh about it then, is we bought Oceanfront number one in 2016, Oceanfront number two in 2017, and Oceanfront number three in June of 2018. We literally gutted it to the studs. I mean, it was it's like a 1,000 square foot ranch, elevated ranch, but I mean, very small, but bathroom, kitchens, flooring, painting, all of it, all brand new. Everything was brand new. We launched it in, I think, the third week of July of 2018, and Hurricane Florence near took it out in September of 2018.
Whew.
It was literally rented for 6 weeks. And we put in a life-changing amount of money at the time that was not recoverable to us.
Wow.
And I knew this, but I did not understand the implications of this. In most of our coastal areas in North Carolina, we have what are called non-conforming lots. And what non-conforming actually means is they're unrebuildable. And if your home is more than 50% damage, which most people assume it's just storms, but it could be fire as well. And
Right.
we lose more ocean fronts and fires than we do to hurricanes
Ah,
in this state. So fire is very scary on the ocean. But if it's more than 50% damage, they will tear down your house and you can't rebuild it. So now your four or $500,000 lot is now worth $30,000. And what most people don't think through is that you can't insure the lot. You only insure the building that the lot
right.
sits on. And in 99.5% of everywhere else in the country, if you lose your entire building, your lot still remains the same, and it's a process and it costs money and all that, but you can rebuild. But if that happens to you on a non-conforming lot oceanfront, you cannot rebuild.
Wow.
So we were in that position, and as you can imagine, we had to cancel and refund tens of thousands of dollars in stays, and every single person did not buy travel insurance. And in that moment, and so I did the thing, because up until that point, and then I was only 2.5 years in that journey at that point when the hurricane hit. Up until that point, every time someone said, my mom's in the hospital, oh, no problem, here's a refund. Oh, I have a work conflict, I can't travel. Oh, no problem, here's a refund. Because it didn't happen that much. And frankly, I believed everybody. I've since realized that unfortunately, not everybody tells the truth. But when I was in the position where I literally I mean, it was dire. And I had to refund all these people's money that I could have used, and I could have by contractually was
Right.
able to keep it, but I refunded it because that felt like the right thing to do at the time. It was putting myself and my family in enormous financial hardship. And in that moment, I realized that no one's going to protect myself and my finances other than me.
Right.
And so that was kind of the beginning of when I started realizing I have to have clearly communicated rules in place and stick to them. And that's when I started creating house rules that said no refunds are provided. Please purchase travel insurance for unexpected delays. And I don't make exceptions. Like, I don't care what your sob story is. I have the same response every step one. Please check with your insurance provider. I know damn well that
Right.
99% of these people didn't buy insurance, but we go through the process. Please check with your insurance service provider. I don't have insurance. Okay, then I will do my best to rebook these nights and I will refund anything that we can rebook. Well, and then insert sob story. And I'll say, listen, the reality is you took up these dates for weeks, months, sometimes even a year. I
Right.
could have rebooked to someone who could have stayed. And
Absolutely.
so I'm happy to refund you something I'm able to collect, but if I'm not able to collect, I'm not able to refund.
And I think
And,
that's totally fair too.
well, but I think, but again, it becomes when you have your own work processes in mind and you feel good about whatever you've put out and you've clearly communicated them in advance, there's no friction because I just refer people back to, remember in your house rules, you clicked it. Remember the rental agreement, you had your sign. It's all in there. It's all in black and white. And there are no surprises with me. And so most of the time, I don't get any pushback. And because they know what the deal is. It's when you have wishy-washy rules and or no communicated rules, that's when it becomes this emotional tug and pull, and nothing good ever comes of that. And when you approach this business like a business and you present yourself that way, there's really very little friction that comes as a result.
So well said, and very, very important, because honestly, in those Facebook groups, that's the number one thing. When I read a post and it says, I have a strict no cancellation policy, you know what's coming after that. So
Yeah.
it's just, which is a very common heartache at reading in those. But
But
let's
the
get it.
question
Yeah.
becomes, I
Yeah.
hate to interrupt, but literally, I see all those posts, and I really, and I don't because, I try to stay factual. But when someone says they have a strict cancellation policy and there's something else under it, that means they don't. Right, because if just because you toggle the button that says strict cancellation policy, what that post is telling me is that you don't actually have a policy. Because every time someone questions your policy, you're now crowdsourcing for advice. If you have a strict cancellation policy, there's literally no question.
Right.
Just adhere to it. That, like, and I think you can correlate that to almost anything. Do you allow dogs? Do you allow early check-ins? Do you allow extra visitors? Any one of those things. It really is as simple as choose a policy, communicate it, and then adhere to it.
Absolutely. Beata, so well said. So I want to move here to what you call the weird phase. So you talk about where your short-term rental business starts working, but somehow it feels harder, not easier. So what does that phase look like, and how does it catch people off guard?
I think like we talked about, the reality is, and most people get into this business either to in the beginning, right? Everybody has a different journey, but most people that I find are either, I want to buy a second home that I want someone else to help offset,
Yes.
or I want to get into real estate investing and I want to have what we call the lifestyle asset or something I can use and enjoy, right? It's usually one of those two paths. Well, when you get into one of those two paths, I don't know. I mean, everybody has different goals, but most people that I talk to, and myself initially early included, if all of your bills are covered, you're like, oh, okay, this is what I wanted. And so you're there, you've achieved. And then you decide, wow, I'm pretty good at this and I'll buy another one, or maybe I'll get into the co-hosting game or get licensed and become a property manager. And then all of a sudden, what, I don't know, maybe your expectations or your goals were either low or you weren't even sure you could attain them, but once you did, now all of a sudden the stakes are higher, I think. You you now are either more people are involved, maybe you got your family to invest, maybe you now have an investment partner. Whatever your personal circumstances are, usually the ante gets upped a bit. And now what maybe turned into a, I have money for a down payment, let me see how it goes, now is turning into, wow, this could now replace a W 2. Oh, maybe this could be a different trajectory. Maybe this could be a whole new career. Maybe I could even help my spouse get out of their W 2. I mean, it could be a lot of other things. So, what started off maybe as a lark, or maybe let me see how it goes, or hey, somebody else is going to pay my mortgage, which is amazing, now all of a sudden turns into something that has more pressure. And when there's that more pressure and you don't have all those systems in place,
Mm.
now all of a sudden every decision feels weightier, and
Oh,
every review or every guess now feels like it's more impactful. And so it's not really that anything logistically or operationally has changed. I think it's the emotional charge changes, and how you approach things changes because of that emotional charge.
oh my goodness. Yes, all of that. And, this business, I think a ton of people got in during COVID because people were starting to get cabin fever, and the short term rental industry just exploded, and people were making tons of money on, and places, and this is such an overly used word, but so many locations got saturated, and so many people went on AirDNA and said, oh, this is the best place to own a short-term rental. And like everyone's flocking to Orlando, flocking to Scottsdale or wherever it is.
Pigeon Forge.
Pigeon Forge. Man, there are a ton for sale in Pigeon Forge right now. I don't know if you noticed that, but
I have.
what I'm kind of going off topic here because, you open this thought in my brain. Your properties are just so beautifully designed and just are so unique. And what do you think makes a good short-term rental? Because you talked about how they wanted a second home or something of that sort. Another whole lane of people are the ones who have a rental that is maybe not producing as much as a long-term rental. They're like, oh, I'll just make it a short-term rental, but it's in a neighborhood. There's not like a draw to it. So I feel like that is a lot of people who have also joined recently because their long-term rentals weren't cash flowing like they wanted to. So what to you makes a really good short-term rental that's going to cash flow? I mean, you are on track to doing 1.5 million this year in gross sales. So gross profit. So, tell
Sales,
me,
not profit.
scale.
Just
Thank you. Sorry, I had the wrong word there. So tell me what makes a good short-term rental?
I could literally summarize it in 2 words: unique experience.
Yes.
I mean, it like, and then fill in the blank, right? And then every market will be slightly different. But here's something that I've literally, so I have been in this industry well before COVID. I watched the whole COVID thing unfold. I watched a lot of people out around me fall into the 2021 short-term bubble, which is really what it was. And I called it at the time, unfortunately, is that the reality was if you put it on Airbnb, you would make money. The standards were ridiculously low at that point
Yes.
because people were avoiding Europe, well, overseas in general. They
Right.
were avoiding, well, shoot, they weren't avoiding cruise ships. Cruise ships weren't even running at the time.
Right.
And a lot of people were just nervous about going to hotels. So private rentals became the thing to go. And so, this becomes a little bit of a tricky topic. So I want to tread carefully. But here's truly the reality of the situation. And this applies whether you have a 1 bedroom or a 10 bedroom or anything in between. If you are operating a truly budget operation, you will always have bookings. You're because you're competing with, at that point, you're competing with hotels. And as long as your per bedroom night is significantly lower than a hotel in your area, and you're doing all the other things right, you will do well. And if you are providing an exceptional experience, whatever that looks like, because of the 10 current properties I have, I'm in 5 completely unique markets, in 2 different states, literally ranging from 1 bedroom to the largest is a 5 bedroom currently. But the the framework is exactly the same, whether it's the 1 bedroom or the 5 bedroom. I set mine up so that it provides an exceptional, unique experience that people are actually paying for the experience of the home, not paying for lodging. The unfortunate part is a no different than the American economy, the middle is getting crushed
Right.
because for a lot of people, you are pricier than the budgets. So people are choosing the budgets if they're on that end of the road. Or here, maybe they're traveling less frequently or they're saving up for the trip. So if they're saving up for something special, they're going to save up for the more unique experience. So this whole vast majority of middle properties, and there's a big range of them, right? They're not all the same, is they're competing. So when we talk about saturated markets, that's actually what we're talking about, is this middle,
Right.
is that there is the supply of these particular types of properties exceed the demand for these particular sets of properties, because I have rebuilt my entire personal portfolio 3 times, and my current portfolio, the oldest property, has only been running as an STR for, oh my, don't quote it, 3 years. 3 years in April. That's my oldest current property. The newest is only 3 months old.
Oh, wow.
And they are all profitable out of the gate because I personally choose not to go on the budget end. I'm choosing to go on the exceptional experience end, and I curate that experience very thoughtfully and intentionally, and it works. And in fact, one is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And if you've looked in AirDNA or even just go on Airbnb, there are literally thousands of STRs in Raleigh, thousands. And how many of them sit empty most of the time? My
Right.
Raleigh property it'll be 2 years old in February. And again, out of the park, it has done exceptionally well because I pivoted and created an experience, not just lodging.
And I agree 1,000% because I feel like the vacation rentals are always, I call them vacation rentals because they just want something different than where they normally live. They don't want to
Yes.
stay in something that feels like a dorm room with your IKEA furniture that's held together with duct tape. They want that something different than what they are used to. We have a mountain cabin and it's a tiny cabin. It sleeps two. It is our little cash cow. We've had that one since 2018. And so I have been through the cycles of all of this. But I can tell you, I have not gone a weekend without it booked. It is constantly booked. It just does so well because people from Raleigh, people from Durham, people from Charlotte will go to the North Carolina mountains because it's an escape. It is something
Exactly.
different than where they normally live. So thank you for letting me go sideways on that whole section there because I think you offer such a unique perspective for the listeners in that it's not about data. It's not about you can't just throw furniture off of Craigslist, off of Facebook Marketplace and throw it in there and think you're going to start making money. So thank you for going into that because yours are gorgeous. By the way, if people want to look up your short-term rentals, do you have your own website for all of your short-term rentals?
The North Carolina ones are at ncescapes.com. So escapes. The two in Whitefish, Montana, you can find under hopeslope.treehouse.com.
Y'all, you need to check them out because they are just so, so cool.
I
So,
just want to interrupt you for 1 second
yes,
because you talked about the Facebook marketplace and all that. I do that for the record.
you buy off of Facebook Marketplace?
Well, it's a mishmash of different places, but a lot of then the reason I wanted to interrupt you because I don't want people to believe that you have to spend an exorbitant amount of
Oh,
money outfitting these
absolutely.
places. It's all about being cohesive and actually having a plan and having a design. It's when you mishmash things together that don't fit, it's the problem. But I don't. I outfit my places with Costco, Home Goods, a little bit on Facebook Marketplace, Wayfair, the occasional like signature item that I find that's handcrafted somewhere when it makes sense. But by and large, my furniture and decor budgets are not exorbitant. They're probably on the low end. What I'm really focusing on intentionally is the experience.
Yes.
And I think that, the experience is not free, but it doesn't cost very much to deliver. It's about thoughtfully delivering it, where I think most people are still stuck in, I'm providing lodging. They haven't made that mental switch to, I'm providing an experience. And I think
Yes.
that that's a key difference. And I don't want people believing that you have to have these exorbitant budgets to achieve it because you don't.
And thank you for saying that because you are 1,000% correct in that. I'm just talking about I have stayed in one in West Virginia where everything in that property was bought at a garage sale and you could tell. But you can absolutely find key pieces and have a whole plan to do that. So thank you for clarifying that. That was excellent. Before we go to the second part of the podcast here, I cannot wait to talk about this. Let's dive into the Host Connect conference. This is your little baby that you have created. Let's talk about your partner and tell everyone why you are putting this together and when it is. Give us all the details.
So I'm partnering with Tyler Kuhn, who's a real estate colleague of mine. He's based in out of Asheville, North Carolina. His business is Savvy Realty. Fantastic guy, good friend. Um, I've personally had a desire and a dream to put on a live conference for several years now. and they're not easy to put together, frankly.
No, they're
And
not.
I think if a year ago I knew what I know now, I'm not sure I would have done it, to be honest. But we're not going back now. But really, and you said it a little bit in the beginning. It's nothing can replace in-person connection.
Nothing.
And we are having just a tremendous speaker lineup. Like, one of the things that I'm truly passionate about is, number one, not selling things from the stage. I want people to truly be able to learn, to have actionable. Everything we're coaching our speakers on is to say, these people are amazing powerhouses in their individual niches in the industry, but I don't want an attendee to feel like, oh my God, I can't do what they're talking about. I want every single session to everyone to be able to walk away with one nugget that says, I can drop what I'm doing right now, or at the end of this conference, or at the end of the night tonight when I go back home or to my hotel or wherever I'm going, and make one tweak that'll actually move my needle. That is my 100% goal, is that every single attendee walks away with actual actionable items that will improve their business or improve their life or improve their stress levels, improve something, whatever pain point they're currently experiencing, we want to improve. So that's number one with the content. But that's why people buy the tickets, is for the content. But what I think is the secondary goal, which I think is actually the more important goal that most people don't think of, is the connections you make. Because I haven't gone to a single in-person event where I haven't learned something. I'm someone that, a decade in this industry, I am still learning. Every single day I learn something
Absolutely.
new.
Yes.
I learn a trick, I learn a software, I learn a different perspective, I get an idea. So to me, I'm one of those just evergreen learners. But more important than that, whenever I go to these events, it's usually not with the content that I walk away being excited about, it's who I met, right?
Yes.
It's always that, whether it's, hey, this is going to be my new business BFF, or this is the person that holds the key to this problem that's been tweaking me for the last 6 months or the last year, or this person talked about the struggle that I also have, and now I realize that I'm not the only one, or now I know how to fix this struggle or overcome it. Whatever it is for every individual, I just know if you take the day and a half and join us, you are going to walk away with connections that are going to improve your business and your life. That to me, it's like, I just, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what's going to happen. And that's what I want to provide, because this business can be really lonely. This business can be very frustrating. This business can be very taxing. And I think it's better when you have real life people, instead of going on the crowdsourcing Facebook group thing of, here's the thing, you call your business BFF and be like, all right, help walk me off the bridge. Like, I know what my rule is, and this person's testing me. When you have that person, it makes all the difference in the world. And you can meet that person at this conference if you don't already have one.
Oh my goodness. And I cannot wait to go there myself now and be a part of this. But this conference, what if it's someone, because you mentioned the word pain points, and a huge pain point right now is people have properties that are sitting on the market and not selling, like a bunch of my flipper friends. I, for one, also have a property on the market that is over 100 days on the market. It hurts to even say that, but is this conference for someone who is maybe experiencing those pain points, and maybe now they want to, because real estate, you can pivot. There's so many different directions. Is this a good starter conference for someone who wants to get into short-term rentals?
Oh yeah, we intentionally are making the topics, we're coaching our speakers to go on multi levels. We
Good.
want to have nuggets to be for the entry level beginners, whether you're just thinking about entering the industry, or you're, maybe a couple months in, maybe barely a year in. We want to have topics available for those that are just got, their training wheels came off, they're coming up, they're riding the bike, but they're still a little wobbly. And for operators like you and I that have been doing this a long time, I want you to actually learn something at this conference. I don't
Ah,
know what it's going to be yet, but I have no doubt that you're going to walk away with, that's the nugget I needed this year to move my needle even further. And the benefit of that is, it's just an industry where someone can be at the very beginning stages of, let's say, revenue management, but because of their previous background, they're actually really good at branding and marketing, right? And so individually, when you're a beginner at STR or kind of in the middle of the end, that doesn't mean in all the different pillars that are applicable that you're always a beginner. Or so I believe, and that's why in person is so important, because everybody has something to offer and everybody can learn from each other. And when you marry people up the right way in the right room, literally amazing things can happen. And that's what we're curating here.
Absolutely. And in fact, I have a podcast today because of someone I met at a conference just in a whim, who I sat next to. And then we became friends. And later on, she's like, Jen, you got to do this podcast thing. You'd be so good at it. And literally 6 years later, I'm still doing this podcast. So it is from meeting people at conferences. I think it is so very important. And you nailed it on the head when you said this is such a lonely industry because you are just kind of in your little bubble. Like I just had a woman ask me, she said, do you provide a laptop, specifically a MacBook Pro? Like, are you smoking crack?
She was a guest?
A guest asked me to
No.
provide a MacBook Pro. Not just any laptop. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I had to reach out to one of my friends. I'm like, can you believe this? And so I just went on the chat GPT and got a very polite response to that. But it is so good to make those connections, going back to that. And for everybody listening, check it out. What is the website that they go to purchase their tickets for the Host Connect?
Thehostconnect.com.
Perfect. And it is going to be March 5th and 6th in Cary, North Carolina. And here's the exciting news. Beata is going to give our listeners $50 off the ticket price if you use REIGN50, REIGN 50 as your coupon code, and you will get $50 off, excuse me. And it's a very affordable ticket as it is already. So that's a great discount. So thank you so much for sharing your badassery. I want to jump to the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes you a badass, which you clearly are because you're my friend. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
This one's easy. It's called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan.
Yes.
And I'm now on my third iteration of it. And I gain something every time, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much you want to go into it, but I can say it's right now, and I've read hundreds of books. It's my number one book right now.
Oh my goodness. And one of my number one books is the what was the other one I just Who Not How, also by Dan
Yes.
Sullivan. Oh my goodness. That one was one
He
of my
writes winners.
all-time favorites. So, and I do have The Gap and the Gain on my shelf. I do have to dust it off and go check that out. So thank you for bringing that one up. All right. The first A in Badass is for advice. You've given great advice on this show, but what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, that one is easy to remember and difficult to execute. Hire, I always get it wrong. Hire slow, fire fast.
Yes.
And in the last year or two, I had to learn that lesson the hard way multiple times over and over again. So this is my year where I'm going to embody that and hire slow, fire fast.
Oh my goodness. Excellent advice. Yes. All right. The D in Badass is for drive. You are such a driven woman in this industry. What drives you to be successful?
I think I was born that way.
I
I
think
don't, I
so.
don't, I don't, there's, I don't have, I know everybody talks about their why and things like that. And I just, I don't know. I truly believe in personal improvement. And so I've just lived my whole life that when I learn something, I do better. And when I learn, like I've just always been this way. So I think it's more just focusing on being a better person every day and creating a better business every day. And then that fuels me.
I think your story of when you were a stay-at-home mom and you started a business with your dad and you couldn't fit that mold. So I do truly believe that about you. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
Well, actually, it's the conference. To me, it's a I my goal is to create the kind of conference I want to be at. And I've been to a lot of great conferences. I've been to a lot of mediocre conferences, but the kind of conference that leaves me depleted is the kind where even at the level of experience I have, I walk away feeling like a failure and like I can't do anything unless I hire 15 people. And I don't want that for people. I want people to feel empowered and inspired and to learn. And when whether our ticket prices intentionally are very affordable for anyone in this industry, beginner or not. But the reality is we all have finite time. And so a day and a half is a big deal to give to someone. So my personal goal is to make sure that every single person walks away and says that was worth my time.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
I think my biggest system is just operational principles.
Mm.
Is like we talked about early on, is decide how you want to run your business and then don't deviate. Now, that doesn't mean that you never change, but don't deviate based on questions or based on challenges. Obviously, I've been doing this long enough that I've had to change my business over time. It's not been static, but I don't change because a guest asked me to provide a MacBook Pro. I change because that's going to be the best story I tell for a while. So thank you for sharing that. I change because the industry has shifted. For example, one quick little thing you may not know about me is I have not even been on Airbnb 2 full years.
Really?
I only added Airbnb to my business less than 2 years ago. It won't even be 2 years till May.
Oh my
And
goodness.
that's a whole backstory behind that. But the point is that clearly, obviously, I had to change, but it wasn't because, of a one-off question. It was because I relooked at my business portfolio and the industry at large, and I knew I had to pivot.
All right. So I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag here, but isn't there going to be a representative from Airbnb? Wait,
Yes,
am I
ma'am.
allowed to say that?
You are allowed to say that.
Okay.
It's official.
So we are having a speaker representation from Airbnb at this conference. So, and they are by far the best out there in this short-term rental space. That's where everybody goes first. So that is, I'm so excited. All right. I could talk to you all day, clearly, but the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to you?
Choice.
Choice?
Choice.
Choice. That's very easily said. I love it. Choice for what? What are your choices here?
Well, it's so I'm mom to two teenagers now. One is 19, he's in university. One is just about turning 17. He's a junior in high school. So we're having those conversations. And I just find myself saying that all the time, that whatever you choose to do, having more choices is the goal, because choice is freedom.
Yes.
And so for me, success is being able to make choices. I can choose to pay for my children's education or choose not to. I am choosing to, for the record, but not everybody has that choice, right? I can choose where I go on vacation. I can choose, within reason, because I am in an industry that is a little bit reactive, but I can choose when I work. I can choose where I work. That to me is success. The more choices I have, the more successful I am.
Well, I am so glad you came into my life recently and we developed a friendship. And I am so looking forward to this conference. And one more time, tell people how they can get their tickets. Do it today, people. Go ahead.
Thehostconnect.com.
Thehostconnect.com. And don't forget to use code REIGN, REIGN 50. And we didn't even talk about STR house call. What is that?
Real quick, it's basically I make a house call. It's what I found is that there is a ton of amazing people out there doing design and revenue management and photography and 100 things that we all need, and I've used many of them, but it's really focused on the operators have been doing this for a little while, and they believe their homes should produce more income and they're not. And they're
Oh,
not sure why, right? It's like we can all say, well, I need better design or I need better photos, but sometimes it's low hanging fruit you're not even thinking about. Some people need amenities, some people need better operations, some people don't have their guest avatar dialed in. When you know what you want, you can go fix it, but many times you don't know exactly what the problem is. And so with my breadth and width of experience and depth of experience, I can go in and actually experience your property and tell you very clearly, here's the pecking order of what priorities I would do and where to invest your money in order to produce the ROI. Because for me, I don't spend money unless there's an ROI. I believe that has to be a positive ROI experience or it's not worth spending the money.
absolutely. And how do people find you to hire you to go check out their properties?
Well, so right now it's just been word of mouth. I have
Okay.
not made the time to create a website, but you can find me at theboutiquepm.com and just send me a message or on Facebook or however else. But it's not something that I spend a lot of time promoting because it seems that the people who need me seem to find me, and that's been working pretty well for me.
Well, Beata, I am so glad I found you. And this has been such a great interview, loaded with tons of nuggets. And I cannot stress enough, go to the live event. It will be fantastic. If you are listening to this after the live event, find another live event in your area and join it, because that's where a lot of magic happens and it will just take your business to the next level. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.